On a seemingly ordinary summer afternoon, the tranquility of the local community pool was shattered by an unexpected confrontation. What started as a typical day of laughter and splashing soon morphed into a moment that would leave an indelible mark on everyone present. Calvin Clayton, a 14-year-old with a mellow demeanor, stepped up to the pool gates, swim gear in hand. Having recently moved into the neighborhood with his mother, the esteemed Governor Jasmine Clayton, this day held the promise of excitement and renewal. It was a chance for Calvin to embrace the joys of summer, forge new friendships, and immerse himself in the leisurely spirit of the community. The warmth of the sun welcomed him as he entered the pool area, greeted by the cheerful sounds surrounding him. Children squealing in delight as they dove into the sparkling water. Parents lounging under the shade, interspersed with bursts of laughter and splashes reverberating through the air. However, as soon as Calvin crossed through the gates, everything changed. Standing nearby, intensely scrutinizing the scene, was Linda Harrington, a longtime resident of the community known for her overly watchful eye. In many ways, Linda represented a specific type of accountability in the neighborhood, but to many, she had become synonymous with an overly watchful presence, someone who often passed uninvited judgment. As Linda observed, her attention quickly fixated on Calvin as he approached the entrance. Her expression shifted from casual observation to one of suspicion when she noted his unfamiliar face, her body language tightening as she prepared to assert her perceived authority. The moment Calvin stepped into the pool area with an eager smile, the atmosphere shifted. Linda approached him with the kind of authority that demanded attention, cutting through the joyous sounds like a knife. "Excuse me, young man, who are you?" Her voice sliced through the joyful atmosphere, drawing attention from those nearby. Calvin turned, surprised but cordial. "Hi, ma'am. I'm Calvin. I just moved here a few weeks ago with my mom." Linda narrowed her eyes, the discomfort palpable. "Moved here? Where exactly? I've lived in this neighborhood for over 20 years, and I've never seen you before." The doubt in her voice was unmistakable, casting a shadow over Calvin's enthusiasm. Determined to stay calm, Calvin hesitated for a moment, searching for the right words. "I live just down the street, ma'am. I'm just here to swim." But Linda was not satisfied with the simplicity of his explanation. Her posture stiffened, and her tone grew more insistent. "This pool is for residents only. Do you have any proof? An ID or anything?" Confusion clouded Calvin's features. "I didn't bring an ID. I just wanted to swim. I live on Pinewood Lane," he replied, his voice steady but strained. Linda folded her arms, her resolve intensifying. "If you really live there, you should have proof. Otherwise, I'm going to have to ask you to leave." Around them, the vibrant chatter of the pool began to dwindle. Spectators glancing over, unease creeping into their expressions. The atmosphere shifted from playful joy to something fraught with tension as whispers of surprise began to circulate among the bystanders. Calvin stood still, maintaining his composure despite the palpable weight of the moment. "Ma'am, I'm not here to cause trouble. I just want to swim like everyone else," Calvin said, his voice steady despite the growing pressure around him. Linda's response was swift and dismissive. "Then show me proof, or I'll call security." As whispers raced through the bystanders, a heavy silence fell over the gathering crowd. Despite the growing intensity of the exchange, no one stepped forward to support Calvin. The lifeguards, perched overhead, remained passive, neither acknowledging the conflict nor attempting to resolve it, watching with an air of indifference. The tension in the air thickened as some parents exchanged uneasy glances. The discomfort had transcended individual conflict. It had become a communal experience, a defining moment that would shape perspectives for all involved. Calvin felt the rush of anxiety, but resolved to remain calm. He had practiced his responses in his mind again and again, preparing for a day like this. "Listen, ma'am, I don't know what else to say. I just want to swim." Linda's voice crested as she insisted. "You need to prove you belong here. I'm calling management." At that moment, self-doubt crept in. The situation escalated further, and Calvin felt as if he were standing on a precipice. This wasn't just a misunderstanding. It felt like a public confrontation that would stain his first visit to the pool, tainting the excitement he had carried since his arrival in the neighborhood. Just then, the arrival of a sleek black car interrupted the unfolding drama. The sound of the door swinging open cut through the murmurs of the crowd like a bolt of lightning. Everyone turned to see who was stepping out of the vehicle, an anticipation palpable in the mix of fear and curiosity. It was none other than Governor Jasmine Clayton, Calvin's mother. The polished presence of the governor commanded immediate respect and attention from everyone gathered. Dressed impeccably in a tailored suit, she exuded an aura of authority, instantly transforming the energy in the pool area. As she walked toward the group, the tension that had enveloped Calvin began to dissipate. The lifeguards straightened, recognizing her right away, their faces betraying an instant acknowledgement of their mismanagement of the situation. Members of the crowd who had remained silent until now exchanged wide-eyed glances and shifted nervously. What seems to be the problem here? Governor Clayton's voice resonated, unwavering and calm, as she directed her gaze first at the guards and then at Linda. The impact was immediate, every set of eyes glued to her. The air was thick with a mix of fear and admiration. Her presence was imposing yet nurturing, as she calmly assessed the situation, her son visibly distressed, as she placed a gentle hand on Calvin's shoulder, a gesture of support that instantaneously calmed him. "Why is my son being treated like a criminal?" she pressed, her tone a perfect blend of authority and concern. Linda faltered, her confidence evaporating as she stammered, "I didn't know he was your son. I was just making sure everything was in order." Linda's argument, once strong, began to fray at the edges. "In order?" Governor Clayton shot back, her voice sharp and challenging. "What exactly gave you the right to interrogate a teenager in a public facility? My son is a resident here and deserves to enjoy this pool without being harassed." The gravity of the moment was not lost on anyone present. Recognizing the weight of the governor's words, the security guards exchanged nervous glances, clearly uncomfortable with the unfolding reality. Linda, once unwavering in her judgment, found her power diminished under the governor's unwavering stare. Her earlier bravado crumbled into uncertainty. Governor Clayton's gaze shifted to the guard who had approached Calvin. "Did you ask for his side of the story? Or did you make an assumption based on someone else's call? Is that how you operate?" The guards shifted uncomfortably, unable to provide a satisfactory answer under the weight of the governor's scrutiny. Linda stood to the side, her argument unraveling before them, her face turning several shades paler as the crowd watched this confrontation unfold. Governor Clayton's tone softened slightly, but the firmness remained. "Your son deserves the respect every other resident gets," she continued. "Where was your concern for everyone else here? Did you think they needed to show proof as well?" She gestured toward the parents and children, many of whom paused mid-splash to observe the exchange in muted awe. A few bystanders, emboldened by the presence of the governor, began to murmur their agreement. "Yeah, this isn't right." One parent finally spoke up. "He shouldn't have to prove himself to anyone." The applause of agreement rippled through the crowd, affirming the message emerging. It was a collective realization that this was not just about Calvin. It tapped into deeper issues of belonging, identity, and community solidarity. Then, with relentless resolve, Governor Clayton turned directly at Linda. "I'd like to remind you both that this pool operates under the same laws that apply everywhere else in this state. That includes laws against discrimination. My son is a resident here, and he deserves the same respect and freedom to enjoy this facility as anyone else. Do I make myself clear?" Both guards nodded quickly, muttering affirmations. "Yes, ma'am. Of course, Governor," they said almost in unison, their voices tinged with apprehension. As for Linda, the once mighty presence appeared deflated. The weight of her assumptions bore heavy upon her shoulders. "I didn't mean any harm," she stuttered quickly, her emerging shame evident. "I just didn't recognize him." Governor Clayton interrupted with unwavering authority. "And what does that have to do with anything? Your inability to recognize him does not equate to him lacking the right to be here." Her voice cut through the remnants of tension, transforming it into a moment of collective reflection. The silence that followed was palpable as Linda opened and closed her mouth, fumbling for an appropriate reply. A far cry from the confidence she had previously exhibited. The crowd began to stir, some exchanging glances, as the collective moral weight of the moment settled over them. Finally, Governor Clayton turned back to her son, offering him a soothing presence. "Calvin, you okay?" "Yeah, Mom. I think I am now," Calvin replied, his voice more at ease. With the weight of the moment steadily lightening, Governor Clayton addressed the gathering, her voice steady and filled with purpose. "Consider this a teachable moment for all of us. Discrimination, whether blatant or subtle, is still discrimination. We have a responsibility to actively stand against it." Those words seemed to resonate deeply with the onlookers. Something had shifted. Dialogue began to emerge. With that shift came an opportunity for healing, an acknowledgement that they could no longer remain passive witnesses, but must become active participants in shaping a more inclusive community. A parent seated nearby slowly raised their voice. "I should have said something earlier. I saw what was happening but didn't want to get involved," they admitted, searching for accountability. "I'm sorry, Calvin. You deserve better." Another bystander nodded in agreement. "This isn't right. No one should have to go through that just to enjoy a day at the pool," they affirmed, their expression filled with genuine concern. Linda stood awkwardly to the side, her earlier confidence deflated, facing the growing burden of collective judgment. The crowd, which had once been silent, was now united in voicing their disapproval of Linda's actions. With a flush of embarrassment sweeping over her, Linda fidgeted with her belongings, unable to meet anyone's gaze. Without another word, she turned to leave. Her shoulders slumped as she hurriedly exited the pool area. The disapproving stares and murmurs followed her as the crowd watched her retreat, the aura of tension evaporating in her absence. As Calvin's mother prepared to leave with him, one of the lifeguards stepped forward, their face a mixture of regret and determination. "I should have spoken up sooner. This is on me too. I promise I'll make sure no one else has to go through something like this again." Governor Clayton acknowledged their shift, her expression slightly softening as they engaged in an essential conversation about responsibility. Acknowledging the issue is a crucial first step, but it's vital that we continue toward ongoing education against biases in all their forms, she explained softly but firmly. The atmosphere had changed. The community had begun to turn toward unity, recognizing that accountability complemented the values they aimed to uphold. As they walked away, the energy in the pool area had shifted entirely from anxiety to a consensual mission of solidarity and change. This incident served as a reminder of how deeply entrenched biases could surface in public interactions, temporarily impacting lives in real time. It was also a testament to empowerment, revealing that standing up for one's rights and being supported by others could create a ripple effect. As Calvin left the pool area alongside his mother, the late afternoon sun cast long shadows around them. He felt taller now, the weight of doubt that had nagged at him evaporating into a newfound sense of strength. "You handled yourself with dignity today," his mother praised, pride shimmering in her smile. "I'm so proud of you." "Thanks, Mom. I couldn't have done it without you," he replied, a fresh smile brightening his face. As they reached their car, Governor Clayton turned back to the pool one final time. The discourse unleashed that day had not only implicated the neighboring community, but rippled outwards, demonstrating how collective awakening could reshuffle assumptions and build solidarity in confronting injustice. This moment reminded everyone present, not just Calvin, that the importance of standing against discrimination was paramount for building equitable and inclusive spaces. They each left with a clearer understanding that even one encounter could have far-reaching consequences, shaping perspectives not just for themselves, but for generations to come. As the car pulled away, Calvin gazed back at the pool. It was no longer a source of anxiety, but a reminder of resilience and the unwavering support of his mother. This day was both pivotal and hopeful, a glimpse into the kind of community he and his mother envisioned. Ultimately, the story served as a powerful reminder that each of us can make a difference when we choose to stand together, advocating for kindness and understanding. This moment unfolded not just as a lesson about individual rights, but as a call to action for us all. If you believe in the significance of timeless stories that inspire change and encourage action against injustice, consider sharing this powerful narrative with others. Engaging in meaningful conversations matters, and together, we can foster a community that stands unified against discrimination in all its forms. Click subscribe and join this movement towards equality. Let's together create a world where every member feels seen, valued, and respected for who they are. Together, we can cultivate spaces that echo inclusion, empowering all voices and ensuring that no one ever faces the trials that Calvin endured on that summer day.